Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our empty nest adventures as we travel the country in Gracie the Gray Nomad, our Super C RV. Well, today we're going to visit what's reported to be one of the top 10 RV resorts in all of North America. This place has been around since 1971 and is very famous for its luxury, its amenities, and how beautiful it is. So we're going to let you know our experience. Well, why are we heading over to this? Because Dynamax, that makes Gracie, is having the Owners Rally there. They're having the Northeast Owners Rally. So we're going to leave Michigan. We're going to head across Canada, Ontario. We're going to stay overnight at a winery. We're going to head across New York. And then we're going to show you all about our stay at the Dynamax Rally. And then we're going to show you our trip back where we hit a couple more wineries, a brewery in New York, and just have an amazing time as we head and meet some new friends at this rally.
So come along with us and welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we are living that full life, traveling the highways and byways of this great country of ours in Gracie the Gray Nomad, our Super C RV.
Oh, we're having a lot of fun with this. Well, friends, at this point, we've had Gracie for 6 months, and the owners group of the Dynamax owners is having a rally in Foxborough, Massachusetts. So we're going to be gone now in Gracie for about 8 days. So we get her packed up and loaded, and this is where we noticed our first problem.
Yeah, so I started plugging in Foxborough, Massachusetts. That's where this campground is we're going to show you. But the GPS system, which, by the way, what it is, it's a Garmin software GPS that's integrated into our Kenwood infotainment system. That's the radio system and all that in Gracie. And it just kept wanting to route me all the way south down around Lake Erie. And it was like 2, 3, 4 hours extra driving. And from where we're at, the shortcut is to go straight across to Ontario. Well, it's not that Canada's boycotting us or anything. It's just Gracie wouldn't do it. So I zoom in and I notice that Canada is not there. It's just a big green field as soon as you cross over from either Windsor or at Port Huron. There's no Canada. And so we didn't have a way with that GPS to route us across Ontario. So we had to manually do it. Now, I'll give you a little update here. I contacted Garmin support, reported it to them, gave them the model number of the Kenwood, what I was doing, went through all the troubleshooting steps. Garmin checked into it, and I'll go ahead and jump to the punchline. I did get an email back from Garmin. They said they had found the issue. They were able to replicate it in their lab, and they were working on it. And about 6 weeks later, I got another email from Garmin and said, okay, it's fixed, re-update your maps. And I did, and so now Gracie does have Canada. Canada, you exist again, according to Garmin.
But it didn't for our trip.
No, it did not. So we used a RV safe GPS system from RV Life. Not a sponsor or anything like that. We got a free year of our RV Life when we bought Gracie. And so we used their routing system in combination with double checking with Google Maps and etc. And so it's a pretty easy trip. I mean, you go it's just straight across Ontario there. And yeah, we ended up not having any problems. But at this point, Gracie's GPS is fixed and we're all set in Canada because since next year, we're going to Alaska.
That's right.
We need to make sure it works.
Well, you may want to tell them just briefly why it's so important to use an RV safe map here. And that's really because of the height and weight of Gracie, that you don't want to get yourself stuck going somewhere where the bridge or wires are hanging too low and Gracie can't get under them, or where you're going across a bridge where there's a weight limit and that
exactly.
Gracie might exceed that.
That's right. And so the Garmin system that's built in and something like RV Life or any of those take all that into account. They know exactly the height of Gracie. They know her weight, her length. And so we know we're safe if we follow those particular routes.
Exactly. Well, we got on the road and it was time to head out. And we had our first international crossing with Gracie into Ontario. And that it actually went very smoothly getting across. They asked if we had alcohol, if we had firearms, if we had tobacco. Those were the things that they were looking for, and we were just honest with the alcohol that we had, that they do not want you carrying firearms into Canada. So keep that in mind.
Understatement.
You are
border
going
agent,
to Canada, don't have any.
yeah, the border agent asked me, I think 5 times, not exaggerating, different ways. Do you have any firearms? Do you have any secreted in there? Do you have any hidden? Do you, it was a lot about firearms. And like you said, on the alcohol piece, I actually had it inventoried. So I told them exactly how many bottles of bourbon or whatever we had on board. They didn't seem concerned about that as long as it's not an excessive amount. And we don't smoke, so we didn't really have any tobacco. They're very concerned about that from a tax purpose, people taking large amounts in. But since we didn't have that, but no, just don't take firearms.
Yeah, and like I said, we were honest with the alcohol, and they didn't care, so that was good. But anyway, we headed in, and we were staying at our first night at a Harvest Host location near St. Catharines, and it was called King's Court. Now, the one thing we learned about the whole St. Catharines area is it's a beautiful wine country, a beautiful wine region, and there's many wineries in this area.
Yeah, I had no idea. We love going up to Traverse City, the Mission Peninsula, Leelanau Peninsula. That's a wonderful wine region in Michigan, and this kind of reminded me of that.
It did.
My apologies to Canada. I think the Michigan wine's a little better than the Ontario wine, but it was good, and we loved King's Court. The people were so friendly, and you can see here we got to park literally in the vineyard with Gracie, with the grapevines behind her, and honestly, that wine was very good. We bought, I think, 4 bottles. Yeah,
and that's kind of our payment for staying at a Harvest Host location, because to stay at a Harvest Host location, there is no fee. You do pay a yearly membership fee to belong to Harvest Host, but beyond that, you just need to support your Harvest Host locations at each destination. And so that's how we did it here.
Yeah, we bought some wine and did a tasting. So
it was really good.
Well, we got up the next morning, and there's most Harvest Hosts don't have hookups or anything. So, we got up the next morning and got on the road again to head on over to Foxborough.
Well, friends, we arrived at this luxury campground here, and the name of it is Normandy Farms Campground. It is located between Boston and Cape Cod. It's been open since 1971, and it's family owned. And oh my goodness, friends, I have never stayed at such a nice campground in all my life. It is actually one of the premier campgrounds in the world. Well, let me tell you about some of the amenities here, because oh my goodness, they have just about everything you can imagine. They had 4 swimming pools. One of them was indoors. It was heated. One of their outdoor pools was heated. And it was really nice. We went swimming, and it was just lovely. They have a couple of splash pads for the kids. They've got playgrounds that are themed even for the children. There's tennis courts and pickleball, basketball courts. They even have a softball field, and I think that doubles as a soccer field, or maybe they even had separate soccer field.
Yep.
They have an 18-hole disc golf course, and that was beautiful because you could walk through that disc golf course, and they've got beautiful hiking trails through there. And so we walked through those. That's all in the woods, yeah. Just gorgeous. You can take horseback rides that are there. Just absolutely
They have an RC
amazing
course. So if you bring your own remote control cars, they have this kind of dune buggy course for it. They actually are adding more pickleball courts too as we were there. It's under construction. That because of course pickleball is so popular at this point. So they're adding more pickleball courts. I got to tell you though, those horseshoe pits and bocce ball pits, I've never seen anything like them. I mean, they were the most luxurious horseshoe pits, and they were all sanded and raked, and they had like the buildings, and I mean, it was not something where they just dug a pole in the ground at some point. They were gorgeous.
Well, and they had lots of help there. There were a lot of staff members who were there who would help you out with anything that you needed. Oh, they had an activities room or a big activities hall as well that they did different things in, and they had a schedule of events of things for children. So it was pretty It was pretty amazing,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, even the sites were beautiful. So the sites were
Yes.
they had wooded sites. They had some sites that didn't have as many trees, but then those sites actually had hedges between each sites to, give
For
you
privacy.
privacy and block you. I mean, and every single thing was manicured to a T.
Yes.
They had florists going around and putting in different flowers. They had, people constantly working on the landscaping, and it was just, just absolutely gorgeous.
So now I'm sure you want to know the cost of this. So we had what they called a premier site, and the sites for our location started at $88. And then that will go up from there depending on what day of the week, what time of the year. So we were there in June, and so we weren't quite at the high season yet. School stays in a little longer along the East Coast, but then as you get into July and August, those prices are going to go up because that's their high season. So anyway, starting at $88.
So, we're going to tell you now about the Dynamax Rally a little bit, but before we do so, Nancy, looking at Normandy Farms, if we're in that area again, is it a place you'd go back to?
Well, it's a place I certainly would consider going back to. And the only reason I'd say consider is just because there's so many other places to stay at and so many other things to see. I think it'd be a lovely place for you to go to if you haven't been to yet. Take your kids, take your grandkids. There's certainly plenty of things for children to do there. Well, now let's talk about the Dynamax Rally. That covered 2.5 days here. It was midweek, and we don't need to go day by day, but let's just talk about some of the events that the rally had to offer. So, for instance, the general manager was there, and he talked about, for instance, the state of the company and some of the upcoming models that they have planned and things that they plan to do even to their current RVs.
They had another session with a technician from the company that makes our Firefly panel. Now, the Firefly panel is the electronic control system inside Gracie where we control the lights in the furnaces and everything that's inside here. And he did a great job giving us tips, tricks, hints, little things we didn't know about, shortcuts, and also if things go wrong with it, how to reset it, how to change the batteries in the remote units that are around Gracie. So I thought that was really helpful as well.
We played bingo one afternoon, and that was fun. The prizes were things that were RV related or RV accessories. So things such as soap to wash your RV or grilling tools, or there was some bourbon there for a prize as well.
Yeah, and speaking of bourbon, we had a bourbon charity tasting event. Now, this was to support a kids camping charity. So everyone kicked in some money, and then several of the people, in fact, the people that ran the rally and actually operate the Dynamax Owners Group, brought bourbon, and then we all did a tasting, and that was really nice, and it was a lot of fun and just really enjoyable.
Yeah, people learned a lot there. So there were just events kind of throughout the day. Most of them were social type events to get to know one another, and again, it's something that I just really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Other things that were included, we had a breakfast, we had a dinner that they had catered in, as well as a happy hour, and people brought in different drinks and shared those.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, just kind of spending time together. And that's also when Dynamax handed out their swag. We got a
swag bag.
Yeah, we got a swag bag with different things in it, including like a Dynamax logoed umbrella and different things like that. So that was kind of nice as well.
Yeah.
But no, overall, it was a nice experience. Now, in this particular case, the rally was 2 days. They were trying something different. They did it midweek versus the weekend. They were just struggling a little bit because some people, talked about maybe last time it was too long, or it was more difficult to get the campgrounds over the weekend when they're more busy. So they're just trying different things. I got the impression that they're probably going to try to do it a little longer next time. This shorter one, I think people just felt like maybe it was a little too short in getting to know people. And in the end, we're campers, so we want to spend time and get to know places.
Right, we don't want to be rushed.
Yeah, exactly. No, but overall, I would say this rally was just a complete hit, a home run, and I enjoyed it a lot. I will certainly say anytime there's an owners group rally, I would try to attend it.
Oh, 100%, because the connections that you're going to make, the things that you're going to learn at it are just invaluable, truly.
Yeah. So no matter what brand of RV you have, be it one of the Forest River companies, Grand Design, I mean, whoever it might be, try to find an owners group and find out if there's a rally. And we would 100% say, try to attend those rallies. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. Well, we wrapped up the rally and it's time to start heading home. We're going to take 2 nights. Our first night is we're staying at Woodland Farms Brewery in New York. And this was an interesting place. It wasn't maybe as pretty as some of the wineries because we were just kind of out back in a parking lot.
Yeah, by their dumpster.
But it's a Harvest Host location. And so we went in there. You had a beer. We had dinner there. And so that was our way of supporting that location.
Yep. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I found I don't drink a lot of beer anymore. I love beer, but I don't need to drink
your
it.
Bourbon.
Yeah, but the beer actually was absolutely fantastic. The thing that was different about Woodland Farms that I'll tip my hat to them was that the owner and the brewmaster who's there, it's the same person. It's locally and privately owned. He is not into the whole everything has to be an IPA with a bitterness unit of 100 and all this. He drinks beer the way he likes, makes beer the way he likes to drink beer. And so he has a great variety, and it's all not just a bunch of IPAs that we can see how hoppy we can get them. And I really enjoyed that. The bartender, Chris, was amazing. He was funny and just welcoming. So no, I would say if you're passing by, even if you're not going to Harvest Host there, stay overnight there, give Woodland Farms a try. I thought it was a really good brewery.
And now our second night stop was Picco Farms, which is just east of Hamilton in Ontario. And this was at a winery, and it was a charming place. We parked out kind of in the fields. They had a parking area for RVs. Some of them had hookups, so you could pay extra for a hookup if you wanted. We just dry docked there. And it was just lovely. It was quaint. They had a nice gift shop inside. They had a train ride that took you around throughout the vineyards, and that was a lot of fun. I could see where brides would maybe get a lot of pictures taken there, or they could even have weddings out there.
Well, they also had, I think even while we were there, they had one, I think in Canada they called a hen party, or they had they had a group of bridesmaids doing a bachelorette party there. So yeah, I think that's very popular for that as well.
They had a local singer there, and he was really good.
He was a lot of fun, very friendly, and yep, he was really good. No, I thought it was a great stop. The only downside I would say of Picco Farms, it's almost like it just needs a little elbow grease.
Yeah, it's charming, but they could certainly take it up to the next level.
Yeah, there just was a lot of, I guess I'd almost say farm equipment and just kind of stuff where they, took wood and piled it up different places. I think if they'd go through and kind of just tidy the place up a little bit, I think it, like you said, it would take it to the next level. Their wine was okay. I think King's Court was a little better, but their cider was incredible. They're also a cidery, and we really enjoyed the cider. So that be sure to try that there at Picco Farms as well.
Well, that afternoon here, when we had kind of finished all the fun things there at Picco Farms, we're staying the night there, but we drove into the little town of Grimsby. We wanted to go to church there, but we also wanted to go to Forty Creek Distillery. And I enjoyed that place because they had a whole selection of whiskey creams, which were incredibly good. I even got a couple. I got a cinnamon roll whiskey cream and a toffee whiskey cream, and they were yummy.
Yeah, and I ended up getting a Forty Creek maple secondary aged Canadian whiskey that was very good, and I really enjoyed that. And Forty Creek Distillery, the tastings are complimentary, so so it's nice you're not getting charged like you do in most places, like let's say down in Louisville and places like that on the Bourbon Trail. But I enjoyed Forty Creek quite a bit, and Grimsby was a charming little town as well.
It was very quaint. All right, well, we got up the next morning and we're making the last bit of our trip home to Michigan here. So we're crossing the border from Canada back into the United States. Now we have a couple of pro tips for you here.
Well, the first is, when you're pulling up through all these different immigration lanes, right, customs and immigration lanes, they can be really confusing, especially I think when you're traveling from the US into Canada, because it says like cars or autos and trucks. And trucks get routed over into another place. Well, driving Gracie, obviously, this is a pretty big vehicle.
It's on a Freightliner chassis.
Right. The point being, though, when they say trucks, what they're meaning is like semis, people who are taking cargo in and out. Because if you look, the truck lane can be backed up for miles. And so in an RV, you really go through the quote unquote auto lane. Now you want to watch, and it kept saying autos trucks, you know. Well, we went ahead and went the auto lane. Then once you get up closer, you'll see then there might be a specific one that says like high clearance or RVs. Now going from Ontario back into the United States, it was a little more clear there at the United States border. It actually said autos or cars and RVs. So you knew you were supposed to go into the auto lane. So don't make that mistake of getting trapped in the semi lane that's actually cargo on trucks. The other thing is, as soon as you get up to the agent that's in the booth, ask them right away, would you like me to turn off my car? Because, you know, especially in something like Gracie where it's a diesel, it's running, they may want you to go ahead and turn it off. Just be polite and ask them, would you like me to turn it off? Most of the time they're going to say yes. And the third thing,
the third thing is to know your license plates. So know the license plate both on the RV as well as on your truck or car if you're towing one or the other. So they're going to want to know both. It saves them from having to get out of the booth, walk to the back of your vehicle and to take a look and write it down. So we had just taken pictures of ours and showed it to them, and that was satisfactory.
Yeah, it was actually a little funny because, you know, the guy was getting ready. He didn't even ask. He was just going to kind of get out and go look at the license plate. And I said, oh, if you need the license plate, I've got them. And he goes, oh, really? That's good. Okay, just read them off to me. And I read it off, and being a former pilot, I just used the standard phonetic alphabet, you know, and, you know, Charlie, and he read it and he kind of looked at me, he goes, were you military? And I said, no. And he goes, nobody reads them off like that except ex-military guys. What do you do for a living? You know, and then that kind of
questioning.
And I was like, oh, I was an engineer and a pilot. You go, oh, okay. So it just made him laugh a little bit that, you know, that somebody actually read it off correctly, you know. So, but yeah, you know your license plate, do everything you can to make their job easier, and they'll make your life easier going through those border checkpoints.
Right. And once again, we had our alcohol inventoried, and I think you had made a good report, and so he's like, just go right on through.
Well, we had actually stopped at the Canadian side on the duty free and had purchased some more, and we had the receipt ready. We had the inventory of what we brought in and then back out, so we knew what we had already purchased in the US and were just coming in and out. And then we had what we purchased at the duty free shop. And if it's not excessive, if it's just a couple bottles, most of the time they're just going to wave you through. It's not worth collecting the tax on. And again, be polite, be courteous, be helpful, and be open. Just be honest with the Customs and Border Immigration officials.
Right. Well, we crossed the border. So we made it back home safe and sound.
We did. Well, we certainly hope you've enjoyed this little quick trip with us and seeing one of the top 10 RV resorts in North America, seeing what a rally's like for your, you know, for a particular RV manufacturer, and also hopefully a few helpful tips and tricks crossing the border back and forth into Canada and the United States.
All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you, and we will see you very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.